Um, what happens after you're already doing organic and you've mastered high ticket? So really, this training is gonna be most beneficial for most people who are in this category. So you're a fitness coach and you probably have worked with a coach in the past or working with a coach. You're already selling high ticket. So let's just say for this case, it's like $1,000 and above, paid in full pretty consistently. And you're doing organic, right? So you're posting consistently, you know how to use polls, you know on a basic level how to generate leads, you've been taught how to do outbound messaging and things like that. And this is where most people fall in terms of the revenue, not cash. So typically from what we've seen for a lot of people coming in, most coaches at this point, they're running into, well, I say two, but I say three problems. The first is they're mostly generating leads by cold messaging, which is, shout out if you're a client, that's not you, but which is what a lot of fitness coaches do. And it works. It's pretty reliable. It's consistent. But the main issue with that is that as a tactic, it's becoming less and less effective because more and more of your competitors are doing it. And so in relation to that, a lot of coaches who are falling in this category, they're starting to get capped out on time because they have clients coming in. And so beyond, like managing fulfillment, content creation, cold messaging, which is kind of time consuming and time expensive, and admin stuff, a lot of coaches are starting to get capped out on time. But what a lot of people don't talk about is what happens next, which is really what we're going to get into. So at this point, you should have mastered the foundations. I'm not going to get into that, but you should pretty much know all of these things or have experience in doing all of these things, except this one, which I'll go through in a second. So can you get to 10 to 20K a month as a freelancer in one-man band? Yes, absolutely possible with organic, but what's next? And so the next phase of your business for those who are looking to scale beyond that is really to transition from, just a coach, a freelancer, someone who's in the weeds of everything, to actually being a business owner and a leader. And a big part of being a business owner and not a freelancer is having infrastructure and systems to back your business. So when it comes to scaling to the next stage, these are typically the main things that you want to have in place in terms of SOPs and systems in your fitness business. And we're going to talk about all of those in a second. So, the first thing is automations. That is pretty simple. So anything that right now you are doing that's taking up a lot of your time that can be automated needs to be automated. Now, typically the first bottleneck is increasing lead volume, which means that you hit the second bottleneck, which is your fulfillment, which means that ultimately you run into the third challenge, which is hiring and team building. And then, of course, there are some of the operational things too, like backend infrastructure, managing a team, how to run team meetings, how to develop your team so that they're motivated and things like that, which we won't get into here. But here are the two main transitions that you're going to experience as you scale your business. The first is going from a coach to a leader. So going from, just a fitness coach, someone who's doing a bit of everything, to someone who is actually going to lead your team and inspire your team members to do the things that you were doing when you were a baby business owner. And the second thing is that most of your time is going to transition from executing the day-to-day tasks to actually focus more on strategic thinking, actually being a visionary, and managing the team and developing them, as opposed to being in the weeds of every single thing, like messaging, one-on-one client calls, admin stuff, finances, all of that. So let's talk about the first one here. Now, typically, if you've just gone through a program, if you've mastered high ticket organically, the first bottleneck that you're going to run into is your lead generation, your lead volume. Because if you're watching this, then you know that, well, if you want to generate more revenue, you need to be booking more calls and making more offers. And so the first bottleneck typically comes to, how do you book more calls? Well, you've tapped out on organic, right? So people are not as responsive to your organic posts. Every time you book someone on a call or try to book someone on a call, the only people who continue to engage are people who are probably broke, or are just never going to buy, or maybe they're just weird, right? So that said, that's not actually the case, and you probably haven't really fully tapped into your organic market. So originally I was going to go through like the exact tactics here, but I don't want to take up too much time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link in this live to take you guys to a training which goes through the exact tactics. But one of the best ways I want to share with you guys that we do with our clients in terms of how to really leverage organic is two things beyond what everyone else is doing, like, sending out a bunch of outbound messages. All right. So that's two things. The first is by mastering the personal branding and their copy. So what a lot of people do is they're just sending out a bunch of cool messages and also posting content consistently, but just posting consistently isn't enough to get inbound inquiries. It's very hit and miss. So the art of direct response copywriting, which I would obviously suggest everyone master the skill on, is that if you're good at copy, you're going to be able to get more inbound inquiries with every piece of post that you put out. But the second thing that's even sexier is doing a launch style, launch on top of your evergreen offer. So traditionally, how, or most of you guys watching this, you're going to have like one evergreen high ticket offer, right? But then what's even more effective is if you have that baseline of evergreen offer, but then you're also doing a launch on top of it. And so what that does is you have the baseline of sales that you're going to make anyway from follow-ups and, just evergreen tactics like cold messaging. But then you also have a launch style system that you do on top of the evergreen the evergreen base, that's going to capture all the other people who weren't otherwise going to buy from you. And what that does is that creates an influx of revenue, say once a quarter, that you can then upsell at the back of it onto a back-end offer, which we're going to talk about in a second. So a lot of you guys might be thinking, well, like, what do I have to offer in the launch? How is that different from what I do on an evergreen basis in terms of my offer? And the thing is, it actually doesn't have to be different. So your launch offer can be the exact same as your evergreen offer. The only difference is the positioning. All right, and what I mean by that is if your evergreen offer is like one-on-one 90 days, your launch offer in terms of what you do for your clients doesn't actually have to be any different at all. All right, the fulfillment piece can be the exact same, but the only difference here is that you're positioning it as something different. And the way you do that, the way you create urgency, real urgency, is by putting in a bonus. So where a lot of people go wrong is they'll try to do a bonus for the sake of doing a bonus, but then they'll make it like a shit bonus that no one cares about. So I'm sure you guys have all seen like people offer some sort of course or some sort of thing that you want to buy, but then the bonus is like some freebie that no one even wants in the first place, right? And that's not how you want to do it. So the way you do a launch and actually incentivize people to buy then and there, like that cycle, is by having the best bit of your offer in the bonus. Because what that does is it gives the perception that that time you launch is going to be the only time that they can get the bonus, which is the thing that they really, really want. So a really good example of this would be if you're doing like one-on-one coaching, then obviously you have that in your evergreen, but then in your launch style, you would still talk about the one-on-one, you would still talk about the overall problem solution, but you would make the one-on-one coaching element of it the bonus for that launch, so that it seems as if that launch cycle is the only launch that the bonus is going to be. Let me know if that makes sense, guys, but I went on a tangent there. But the second way to scale your second way to scale your lead volume is through paid advertising. So at this point, you probably somewhat maxed out on organic. What's next? Paid ads. And the benefit of paid ads is that it's basically like organic on steroids, at least the thing that we show you anyway. So this is the exact funnel that my clients and I use. All right, so you've got Facebook ad, and traditionally, most people use landing pages or a webinar. But a thing that is even better or even more effective in a lot of the cases is using chatbots. And what that does is it allows you to retarget people for free, as well as allows you to be proactive in booking calls instead of waiting for the person to finish watching the end of the webinar and then book a call. So at a high level, here's the structure. So you'd have Facebook ad, which goes into, like the chatbot, which would then send you to the piece of free training. So now, not only are there two different ways in which the prospect can book a call traditionally, like email list and the button at the bottom of the landing page, there's three different ways in which the prospect can book a call. The main difference being that yourself or someone who works for you can go in there and actually book the call manually themselves. So after that, in terms of the paid acquisition funnel, obviously these are the three different ways of prospecting to book a call. And then the rest is pretty standard, candidate application. What we like to do to really nurture the prospect is we will then send them a home page, which is a page that really positions the call. The results page, which is a page of testimonials, and a email booking sequence to basically increase the shot rate. So this is the exact system that my clients use. It doesn't matter whether you want to do a 15 or a 45-minute call, but at a high level, this is the paid ad structure. So let's see who's got questions so far. 4 people are watching this. Nice. 8 people. All right. So the second bottleneck that you're going to run into once you really dial in your lead gen and increase the volume is scaling your fulfillment. So right now, most coaches who are watching this, they probably have a handful of one-on-one clients, and they might be starting to cap out on time in terms of how much more clients they can take on, as well as time. So the goal in terms of the second piece you're going to have to restructure is your fulfillment. Fulfillment just means client results, by the way, or fulfillment means client delivery. So delivering on what you promise your client. So the coaching aspect of it. So here's the goal. There are a few different ways to scale your fulfillment. The first is by reducing your one-on-one time. So we have a few clients who in the beginning, they were spending an hour a week on each client just on a one-on-one call. But then what we did with her, and we tested this out, is that we reduced her one-on-one call time to 15 minutes and then even to nothing. And her dropout rate didn't decrease. Her client results didn't go down. Her client results actually went up. And you guys probably know her as Eleanor, and she's doing like consistent 10K like a month now. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you want to start systematizing your knowledge into some sort of curriculum. And what that does is it allows your clients to actually revisit the content forever. And what that means is that you're reserving the time that you spend with your client on how to implement the information in a way that's specific to them, which means that it's a lot more beneficial. The third way is to hire people to deliver the fulfillment for you, which is pretty self-explanatory. And then one thing that you also want to do as you scale is to make sure you actually have a system in place in terms of streamlining and graduating and onboarding your clients to make sure that they're well looked after, they don't fall off track, they continue to get results, and they overall have a good experience, which leads into creating a back-end offer. So what a back-end offer or back-end upgrade is the continuation in terms of working with you after they finish the 90 days. And the reason why that's so important is because over the long term, you want to have a really solid back-end offer in place so that your clients continue to work with you. So for example, say you are selling at $1,500 for 90 days consistently. After the 90 days, most clients, they either don't even bother trying to resell their clients, or they try, but they have zero system in place. So if you're watching this, you've probably been through a program, you know that when it comes to selling people on the front end, there's a very clear structure on how you sell people on the sales call and even everything that comes before that. Exact same thing with back-end offer is that you need to have a system or process in place to be able to upgrade at least 30 to 50% of your clients. So think of it this way. If you take on 10 clients and 5 of them continue working with you on something like 6 months for 3K, then really what you're getting is you're getting another 5 times 500, meaning that you start to stack a base of 2,500 cash. I think I did the math right. I mean, I'm Asian and I'm ashamed to admit that math isn't my strong suit, but you get the concept. Basically, you want to slowly be able to stack your revenue so that you aren't starting at 0 every month. And surprise, surprise, one of the main ways to upgrade people is to actually give them a really good experience on the front end. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is that it increases the overall lifetime value of the client, which means that if you're running paid advertising, for example, say it takes you $500 to acquire one client at $1,500. Well, if that client stays with you for another 3 months, 6 months at 3K, what that means is that instead of getting a 3 times return, so 500 in Facebook ads, 1,500 out as a client, you're getting like a 9 times return, right? So that's 500 in, and then you're getting 4,500 because of the lifetime value of the client. So it's the back-end offer, it's the legacy clients that as you scale will really create culture and an overall good environment within your fulfillment as well. So at this point, let's see where we're up to. At this point, you're spending less time on fulfillment. You are continuing to get high quality, high volume lead flow from paid advertising, and really by having your organic operate at 100%. What's next? Well, what's next is you probably became the glorified salesperson for your own business, which we don't want that. Let's see what you guys are up to so far and who's got comments, but we don't want that because, well, we did this for freedom and we don't want to be chained to our calendars with no white space and no free time. So that leads into the third bottleneck, which is hiring and building a team. Now, there are so many people that you can potentially hire. So in terms of who to hire first, how to hire, well, who to hire first, I'm not going to go into the details because it's really dependent from business to business. But I'll tell you who to hire last, and that's going to be a salesperson, because sales is ultimately, well, the revenue generating activity, which means that you want to let go of this last. The only exception being if you're like really bad at sales and you're willing to train someone, in which, you know, either way, it's probably not going to work. because you can't train someone if you're bad at it, right? Or they're just like a complete drain on your energy and you're willing to accept someone who is at the same level of you, maybe slightly below. So traditionally, a lot of our clients, they'll hire a VA first. And then the rest of it, the VA might sometimes do this, which is help them generate leads and do the messaging. But typically these are going to be your first few hires that you make in your business. And now look, like, this is a mistake that I've learned. This is a mistake that a lot of my clients make when they make their first hire, is that you can't expect like two things. First, you can't hire someone and then expect them to do exactly what you want them to do without being clear on expectations and without investing the time to train them. So here's where a lot of people go wrong. They'll hire someone, they'll be like, go generate leads for me, or like, go do this. Give them zero training, zero SOP, and treat them like a robot, and then expect them to do like exactly what you say. Like, if you hire someone, you haven't backed out and gotten your time back yet, especially in the beginning stages, because you still have to train them to help them master their craft at the thing that you want them to do. So that's the first mistake. Is a lot of the time up to this point, so many business owners can be so caught up in sales, organic, marketing, Facebook ads, that they haven't really invested the time and the emotional energy into developing another skill, which is really important, which is leadership and how to motivate a team. That's definitely a big mistake that I learned. So yeah, don't make that mistake. So the second thing, second biggest mistake that a lot of coaches make is expecting to hire an A player when their business infrastructure is at a C level. And what I mean by that is, a lot of the time people will be like, oh, I want to hire a salesperson, or I want to hire someone who's like really good at lead gen. Well, anyone who's really good at sales is going to be working for someone else who is like a 7 or an 8-figure business, or like, yeah. Which means that if you're not quite there yet, you're going to have to hire someone who isn't as good when it comes to being a masterful salesperson or whatever it is, but someone who's got the hunger to, look up to the position, and someone who's got the drive to want to do really well. Because look, like, everyone who's amazing at say sales or marketing is going to be working for a business that has better infrastructure than you. And I mean, it sucks to say, but it's true, right? If you were a salesperson, would you want to work for a business? If you were a good salesperson, like a good salesperson, would you want to work for a business who's at 10K a month, where you have to generate your own leads and you don't really get the volume that you want, and you make less commission, and you have to do all this work that you wouldn't have to do at a bigger company? Or would you want to be at a business that hands you applications on a platter? We just have to call them up, right? So all the good people are going to be taken, which means that if you're at like 10 to 20K a month and you want to hire a salesperson, then you're probably going to have to hire someone who hasn't quite mastered their craft at sales, but someone who's really hungry and ambitious to grow. So just circling back around to the high level stuff, this is how your responsibilities will change and evolve as you scale. In the beginning, you'll probably focus a lot on these things, and then as you scale, you're going to be spending less time doing cold messaging and spending more time on your paid ads and marketing and Facebook ads. In terms of the fulfillment, as you scale, you're probably going to spend less time doing one-on-one coaching, and then in the short term, spend more time systemizing it into like a curriculum. And that time that you spend one-on-one coaching is going to be replaced by by basically leading your fulfillment team on how to coach. Once again, that's dependent on your business right now. So that's not, that's not cookie cutter. And then you're going to be doing these new things that you haven't really done before, like more time hiring, spending more time building out systems, SOPs, structure in place, as well as more time training your staff on how to do things. Whether it's, training your salesperson, listening to their calls, continuing to inspire them and educate them and things like that. And ultimately go from being a freelancer, like a baby business owner, to stepping into the role of a leader and getting your time back. So quick recap. First bottleneck is mastering your organic. So first bottleneck is increasing your lead flow, your lead opportunity volume, which you do that in two ways. First, by really actually mastering your organic and getting more strategies for inbound leads beyond just cold messaging a bunch of people. And second, combining that with paid advertising, which is this entire, at least this is what we teach our clients, this entire tactic here, strategy. Second is you're probably going to get loads of clients from this. So second bottleneck is going to be backing out of fulfillment. So being able to scale your client delivery without sacrificing the integrity of client results, as well as building out a backend system so you start to stack recurring revenue. And then your focus should be on sales, which takes you to the next point, which is hiring the first person, regardless of who it's going to be. So that is all, guys. Now, I know I did promise you guys when I was initially talking about this, that I'm going to show you some of the organic tactics that my clients use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste a link at the bottom of this live, and you guys can check out that piece of training there. So it talks about the organic strategies that our clients use to pull in more sales beyond like cold messaging a bunch of people. So now questions. Who's got questions? Bogdan, great value. Thank you, man. Main bottleneck is scaling in terms of lead gen. How do you budget the ad sets to find copy creative winners? Yeah, so you split test at the ad set level. So say you had $100 to spend a day, you could create 2 different ad sets at $50 a day, right? So then you're split testing too. And then based on that, you're just gonna look at, well, the cost per lead, and then other things too, like the click-through rate. So click-through rate, a large part of what affects that is gonna be the creative, but ultimately the copy is like super important too. So you would just split test 2 different ad sets with two different ad angles at the ad set level, and then you would just look at the cost per lead then. And once you find the winning ad set, there are a few different ways overall that you can scale. The first is you can just scale by testing more creatives. So you could just launch more creatives, launch more different ad angles and ad copies. Second way to scale is by testing different audiences. So you can just, audience testing is another form of creative testing. If you're running an ad to Slimming World, then what you can do is you can take the winning ad you're running to Slimming World and then run it to Beachbody. I don't know why I said Beachbody. Run it to like something else, right? So you can scale ads by testing audience. And then another way that you can do that too is you can scale ads by putting them in a CBO campaign and then setting the budget at the campaign level, and then letting Facebook do its thing. So that said, though, like when you say scaling lead gen, it could even be that you tap into organic a bit more. But is it that your leads are too expensive or something else? Let me know. But yeah, guys, who else has questions? 6 people are watching this. Okay, well, Dan says, relax, champ. You did 35K collected. Okay, Well, 6 people here are gonna go on to make loads of money, but if you guys have any questions, then post them in the comments here. Make sure that you like this Facebook post or this live video. And I've just put in the training, the free piece of training as a comment here. So I hope you guys found this helpful, and I'll see you all in the next live, whenever that's going to be. But let me know what else you guys want to do trainings on in general, and we'll make that happen. Peace.